Hey y'all, this is my husband Jadell.
Jadell.
It's your first time meeting him on my YouTube channel. Today we're gonna be talking about my labor delivery experience, and he's gonna help me tell y'all how everything went.
Went perfect.
So we walked around the neighborhood probably
Twice, I think.
probably twice.
Yeah.
And that didn't do nothing.
You know
And
nothing.
raspberry leaf tea, and I got the organic. So he kept on saying, when you gonna start drinking the tea? And I was like, I'm gonna drink the tea. And literally, I think like when I got on the second cup, I started feeling a little bit of weirdness. I was like, maybe it's just in my head. And then the next day is when I started feeling like a little crampy. But I was like, that might be in my head, but no, I really was feeling just a little bit of crampiness. And later on that day is when I lost the the mucus plug.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, oh my God, I was like, is this the mucus? Like, I'm Googling it, looking all at the, and that's when I had downloaded the app for the contraction thing. So let me download it. And my cramps started coming from like 10 minutes. It was like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Mind you, I could not sleep. That was 2 nights before we went to the hospital. I couldn't sleep that way. I mean, like, I say, it was still 10 minutes, but it was a little bit more painful than the night before. And then later, it was like 2 in the morning. He was still snoring asleep. Ain't no sense of waking him up if I'm not ready to go nowhere. So it was starting to get closer, like 5 minutes.
I was waking up, being at my sleep. I was still I wasn't all the way to sleep. I was waking up at my sleep. Cause I was asking you, was you okay?
No.
Yes, I was, bro.
Cause I remember, cause I was like, okay, he's asleep. So let me get up and try to walk it off or something, and go in the living room, and that didn't help. That's when I texted the OB, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I think this is it. And I sent him a screenshot of the time of the contractions. And he was like, he says, is it to the point you can't walk? Is it, you can't talk? I said, well, I can walk. And I said, well, no, I said, I barely can walk when it hits me. And I said, I can't talk still. He said, well, come in and we'll see.
We're leaving the house, getting everything ready. She packed this big ass bag with all this unnecessary shit in it that people say pack the baby bag or whatever. It was multiple outfits. We didn't use barely anything that was in the bag because basically everything we needed they had there at the hospital. But packing up to get ready to leave, got the bag. Her mom was there. She didn't know we was all ride in one car or she drive her car too because we didn't know they was gonna let her in, and they had this elaborate scheme of saying that she was the
Doula.
The doula, and that didn't work. So it was still only one visitor, which was me. So I mean, she still drove down there. And
Yeah, she drove down there and she tried.
Yeah,
I gave
tried
her
to
some
get
scrubs.
in. Yeah, and we couldn't lie because they had every doula that registered in the state on paper in Nashville. So even if we told them the name, they was checking the list to see if
she was on there.
Really a doula. Yeah,
so it really sucked that
didn't work.
my mom wasn't able to be in there. So the birthing center. My birth plan was to do the natural birth, the water birth. I was able to choose from midwife to OB because I did my prenatal visits at Baby and Company. And so I ended up last minute picking the OB. And they ended up telling me, oh, so since you pick your OB, you know you can do it at St. Thomas. They have a birthing center as well. And it's cheaper. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the birthing center at St. Thomas with the OB, and that's what we chose. So the room he's talking about, that's the room we were in, was in the birthing center at St. Thomas, and they have the whole setup for a natural birth. So when we got there, they had checked and see if I was dilated, and that's when I dilated was at I was like 4, almost at a 5, and you couldn't be admitted into the birthing center unless you was a 5. So when she checked me, I was 4, and literally when she checked me, that's when I was like, ooh, my contractions are worse. And she's like, yeah, we're gonna let you walk around for an hour, bounce on the ball, do what you need to do to get to 5, or you can go home and labor at home and come back. And I was like, yeah, I was in my mind, I was like, yeah, going home probably would be better. But I looked at him and he was like, we already here. And I was like, okay, we already here. And she was like, yeah, so you're just gonna walk around. So I started walking around for an hour and bouncing on the ball. And my contractions started coming and coming. She came back in and checked, and I was a 5. And that's when we ended up going to the birthing center, putting all our stuff in there, and that's when I started doing the same thing, bouncing on the ball, walking, and the contractions was still coming. Like it was really bad. And then that's when the OB came in and he was like, hey, I think she did check me. Well, he came in and checked me, and I was still at what, 5, wasn't I?
I think so.
Yeah, I was still at 5. That was a whole almost 2 hours later. Still at 5, and my contractions started being longer. He was like, do you want me to break your water? And I was like, no. In my mind I was like, no. And then again I was like, well, I gotta do what I gotta do, so I might as well just get it over with and do it. But then I'm like, if that happens, then it's gonna be even worse, right? And the nurse was like, yeah. And I was like, well, you just gotta do what you gotta do. He said, you sure? You know, he's like, I can come back. And I was like, just go ahead and do it. And it wasn't at like 5 o'clock.
Probably so. Around 5.
And keep in mind, we got there at 8 in the morning. So I was like, yeah, just go ahead and get it over with. So that's when he broke my water. And I was like, and then she was like, it's not gonna hit you that close. And I'm like, okay, it's not gonna be like a hit. I was like, okay. So once he broke it, I think like 30 minutes later, I had to use the restroom. And literally, when he did that, it was out of control. After I used the bathroom, it was seriously out of control. I came out of the bathroom and I had laid down, and that's when the contraction came, and it wasn't the contraction I had 30 minutes ago. It was like, this is it. So I was like, I started holding on to him, and he was like, you want a popsicle? And I was like, I don't want no damn popsicle. It was like, I didn't want anything but to get it over with. And once that contraction went by, I was like, okay. And that's when I was like, what a nurse. I was like, I want to know if I'm dilating. And she came in, had another one. That's when I started falling on the floor. And Janelle was like, you gotta get up. And the nurse was like, you gotta get up. And I was like, I don't want to get up. It was so painful to the point I didn't want to get up. Like, only thing I knew was to fall on the floor. Or I tried to lean over and then do the little motions and stuff that we learned in the birthing class.
So basically, she didn't do anything from the birthing class. She didn't get in the tub, Only thing she done was the ball. She didn't get, you didn't get in the tub.
Well, by the time it was time to get in the tub.
No, that was the time that you need to get in the tub.
When the contractions started coming.
That was the time that
you was like, oh,
you
was asking me when I was having a contraction. One. He's like, you wanna get in the tub? And I was like, I don't want to get in the tub. It was that bad.
But that was the time that you needed to get in the tub.
But I feel like if I would have gotten in the tub, it would have been a waste. Tub, anything. I'm just, in my mind, I'm like, no, this is too much. So I just want the baby to be here. I said, if I gotta go through this to get him here, I said, this is just too much. He's like, you sure you don't want to go in the tub? And I was just like, and this one, it was hidden. I was like, I want the epidural. And he looked at all sad.
It's not my choice.
He still was looking upset.
No, I was looking upset because you was mad at yourself for not talking about you can't do it and this and that. Don't.
You go through that pain and see what you gonna say.
I mean, I'm at least try to motivate myself. I'm not just gonna tell myself I can't do it.
You go through that and see. But once the epidural hit, I was chill. And they checked me again when I got the epidural. And now I'm laying here, and then this one he was like, "Oh, you laying here with the epidural, so that's probably why it's gonna take longer now." Well, it might have. Who knows? Who knows? I didn't go that route. So once the epidural was going, that was like 5 o'clock, and that's when he came in. He's like, "Oh, you had an 8." And, you know, he was very patient. Thank God he works with the birthing center, baby company, because he was one of those OBs that was so patient with me. And I feel like if I had another person, OB, they would have been making up stuff trying to get me to have a C-section. And yeah, I wanted a natural birth, but my main focus was literally to have a vaginal birth. I was praying I didn't have a C-section if I seriously did not need one. So he came in, he was like, yeah, you're at an 8. He's like, that's good, you know. And it was hours, because when he came back, I was like, I thought you went home. He's like, no, I'm waiting on you. So when he said 8, he's like, that's good. We'll come back. We'll check again. Came back again. What was it, like an hour later? And I was at a 9. I was like, okay, I'm at a 9. And then they asked me, was I ready to start pushing? And I was like, yeah, let's get it done. So I pushed for a whole hour. Nothing happened. He was like, we're going to turn the epidural off, and I want you to feel the contractions. And I was like, okay. I guess I started getting a little nervous, but I was getting excited because I knew it was coming. And so it was like a lot of pressure in my butt, in my vagina. It was like the baby was just pushing. They even gave me oxygen, clearly because I probably felt like I was out of breath or something. And that helped. I'm like, this is a lot. I'm like, and I started getting so irritated. I started cussing. I was like, this baby need to come out. I was like, I'm so ready for him to come. But it's like, this need to come out. And even the nurse, I even told her to move. I was like, because I started to feel everything. I started to literally feel everything. The pain, him, everybody talking. So I was really just getting irritated. So once he came, I was so wore out. Jay was like, he here, Vontae, he here. And I was like, I'm so exhausted. I'm just so happy that he's here. That I thought I was, because I'm very emotional, so I thought I was going to be boo-hooing. But I was so happy that he was here and tired. I was just laying there. Even the baby she was like, the baby used the restroom, but I heard it, but I was like, okay, who cares? I was just exhausted. But that's basically how it happened. We need to show y'all JCO, right?
Yeah.
We gotta go wake him up.